The roar of the crowd faded, replaced by a ringing in my ears, a hollow echo bouncing around the stadium like a trapped bird. His words hung in the air, shimmering like heat haze. "Will you marry me?" But it wasn't for me. It was for her, my sister. What would you do if your perfect graduation turned into a proposal gone wrong, aimed not at you, but at the person you least expected? The sun beat down on my shoulders, each ray a tiny hammer blow. My cap felt too tight, my gown too heavy. Just hours earlier, I'd been practically buzzing with excitement. 4 years of late nights, endless exams, and enough coffee to keep a small nation caffeinated had led to this moment. Valedictorian. A speech I'd poured my heart and soul into. A future stretching out before me, bright and promising. Now it felt like a cruel joke. He, Liam, stood on the stage, microphone still clutched in his sweaty hand. He wasn't even looking at me. His eyes were locked on Sarah, my sister, who stood beside him, her face a kaleidoscope of emotions, shock, disbelief, and something else. Something that looked suspiciously like triumph. I remember the morning so clearly. The smell of burnt toast permeated the air as I rushed to finish my speech. My mother had fussed over my hair, smoothing every stray strand into place with a worried frown. "You're sure you're not pushing yourself too hard, darling?" she'd asked, her voice laced with that familiar concern. "All this ambition, it's not very ladylike." Liam had been sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone. He'd glanced up, a smirk playing on his lips. "Yeah, Mom's right, you're always working." "Never time for fun." I'd brushed it off, chalking it up to pre-graduation jitters. But now, standing there, watching him propose to my sister, his words echoed in my head, sharp and unforgiving. Too ambitious. Was that really how he saw me? As some kind of career-obsessed robot, incapable of love and happiness? Sarah had always been the favored one, beautiful, charming, effortlessly popular. While I buried myself in books, she was out making friends, attending parties, living the normal college experience. My mother always praised her for her sunny disposition, while I was constantly being told to tone it down, to be more like Sarah. Even Liam had seemed to prefer her company. He'd often make comments about how easygoing she was, how she never stressed about anything. I'd tried to ignore it to convince myself that I was just being paranoid, but deep down I always knew there was something between them, a silent understanding, a shared secret that I wasn't privy to. The proposal had been staged perfectly. Liam, supposedly there to support me on my big day. Sarah, invited to share in my moment of glory. My parents, beaming with pride, completely oblivious to the impending disaster. And me, standing on the sidelines watching my life crumble around me. He'd apparently planned this for weeks. He told me how nervous he was about asking for my family's blessing. I just thought he wanted to be traditional. Now I realize he was setting the scene for this grand betrayal. A stage production of my worst fears. Sarah. "Yes," she breathed, and the crowd erupted in applause. I saw my mother wipe away a tear, my father clap Liam on the back. They looked so happy, so utterly, devastatingly happy. No one noticed the way my hands were shaking. No one saw the tears welling up in my eyes. No one heard the scream that was building inside me, threatening to shatter the carefully constructed facade of control I'd spent years perfecting. I turned and walked away. I had to get out of there to escape the suffocating pressure of the crowd, the suffocating weight of their expectations. I needed to breathe. I found myself backstage in a small, dimly lit room filled with discarded props and forgotten dreams. The air was thick with dust and disappointment. I sat down on an overturned crate and let the tears. The graduation coordinator found me there, a kind-faced woman with tired eyes. She offered me a tissue and a sympathetic smile. "Are you all right, dear?" she asked gently. "You're up." I can't do it." She sighed. "I know this is a lot to take in," she said, her voice surprisingly firm. "But you've worked too hard to let this ruin your moment. You have a voice, a story to tell. Don't let them silence you." Her words resonated within me, a tiny spark of defiance igniting in the darkness. She was right. I couldn't let them win. I wouldn't let them steal my voice, my future, my life. I stood up, brushed the dust off my gown, and took a deep breath. "Give me the microphone," I said, my voice stronger this time. "I have something to say." Walking back onto the stage felt like stepping into a battlefield. The applause had died down, replaced by a low hum of chatter. Liam and Sarah were still basking in the glow of their engagement, oblivious to the storm that was brewing. I approached the microphone, my heart pounding in my chest. The graduation coordinator gave me a reassuring nod. I took another deep breath and began to speak. "Good afternoon, everyone," I said, my voice ringing out across the stadium. "I know this isn't what you were expecting, but I have something I need to share." A hush fell over the crowd. Liam and Sarah. My parents looked confused, their faces etched with concern. I started with the story of my ambition, of my relentless pursuit of knowledge and success. I talked about the sacrifices I'd made, the late nights I'd spent studying, the challenges I'd overcome. I spoke of my dreams for the future, my desire to make a difference in the world. Then I turned to Liam. I recounted his words, his constant criticism of my ambition, his subtle attempts to undermine my confidence. I described the feeling of being constantly judged, of never being good enough. "He told my mother I was too ambitious," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "He said I cared more about my career than I did about him." I paused, letting my words sink in. The silence was deafening. "And then," I continued, my voice gaining strength, "he proposed to my sister on my graduation day, on the stage where I was supposed to celebrate my accomplishments." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Liam's face turned ashen. Sarah's eyes widened in horror. My parents looked like they'd been slapped. "I'm not going to stand here and pretend that this doesn't hurt," I said, my voice cracking with emotion. "I'm not going to pretend that I'm not angry, that I'm not betrayed, but I am going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you that I am proud of my ambition, I am proud of my hard work, and I am not going to let anyone, not even someone I thought I loved, tell me that I'm not good enough." I looked directly at Liam. "You may not appreciate my ambition," I said, my voice steady and clear, "but someone will, someone who sees my drive, my passion, as a strength, not a weakness." Then I turned to Sarah. "And you," I said, my voice filled with a mixture of sadness and disappointment. "I always thought we were closer than this. I always thought you were my friend, my confidant. But I guess I was wrong." I looked out at the audience, at the sea of faces staring back at me. Some were filled with shock, others with sympathy, still others with admiration. "I don't know what the future holds," I said, my voice softening. "But I do know this. I will not compromise my dreams for anyone. I will not let anyone diminish my worth, and I will never, ever apologize for being ambitious." I finished my speech, a new speech, born of pain and defiance. I spoke about the importance of following your dreams, of standing up for what you believe in, of never letting anyone silence your voice. The applause was thunderous, overwhelming. People were standing, cheering, their faces flushed with emotion. I looked out at the crowd, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of hope. After the ceremony, my mother approached me, her eyes red and swollen. "I'm so sorry, darling," she said, her voice trembling. "I had no idea." I hugged her tightly. "It's okay, Mom," I said. "It's not your fault." My father just shook his head, his face etched with shame. "I should have seen this coming," he muttered. "I should have." I squeezed his hand. "It's all right, Dad," I said. "It's over now." Liam tried to talk to me, to apologize, to explain, but I refused to listen. I didn't want to hear his excuses, his justifications. I just wanted him out of my life. Sarah also tried to reach out, but I ignored her calls and messages. I wasn't ready to forgive her, not yet. Maybe someday, but not today. The days that followed were a whirlwind of media attention, job offers, and speaking engagements. My story went viral, inspiring women all over the world to embrace their ambition and stand up for their worth. I received countless letters and emails from young women who had faced similar situations, who had been told that they were too much, that they needed to tone it down, that they should prioritize marriage and family over their careers. Their stories resonated with me deeply. I realized that I wasn't alone, that there were millions of women out there who were fighting the same battle, who were struggling to be heard, to be seen, to be valued. I decided to use my newfound platform to advocate for gender equality, to empower women to pursue their dreams, and to challenge the outdated stereotypes that were holding them back. I started a foundation to provide scholarships and mentorship to young women pursuing careers in STEM fields. I spoke at conferences and universities, sharing my story and inspiring others to find their voice. I even wrote a book, a memoir about my experiences, about the challenges I'd faced, and about the lessons I'd learned. The book became a bestseller, translated into multiple languages, and turned into a movie. 5 years later, I stood on a stage once again, this time accepting an award for my advocacy work. I looked out at the audience, at the faces filled with admiration and respect, and I couldn't help but smile. I had come a long way since that fateful graduation day. I had overcome betrayal, heartbreak, and adversity. I had found my voice, my purpose, and my passion, and I had done it all on my own terms. Liam and Sarah, they got married, had 2 kids, and live in a cookie-cutter suburban house. I heard they're doing fine. The irony is almost too perfect. He wanted someone easygoing, and he got it. Meanwhile, I'm speaking at the UN. The sunset that night, the night of my graduation, was a crimson blaze over the ruined castle on campus. It felt like a metaphor for my life, something beautiful and broken, but ultimately powerful. I chose to rebuild, to rise from the ashes, stronger and more determined than ever. And you can too. There will always be people who try to tear you down, who try to silence your voice, who try to steal your dreams, but you can't let them. You have to believe in yourself, in your worth, in your potential. You have to find your voice and use it. Don't be afraid to be ambitious. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be yourself. The world needs your voice. It needs your passion. It needs your dreams. So go out there and make a difference. Change the world. And never, ever apologize for being you. And me? I am happy. I am successful. And I am. I chose to forgive, not for them, but for myself. Holding on to anger only poisons you from the inside out. My success is the ultimate revenge, a silent testament to the power of resilience and self-belief. My words at the podium that day still echo, not just in the stadium, but in the hearts of young women everywhere. They are a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and heartbreak, you can rise above and achieve your dreams. Remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and you matter. What would you do if you were me? Write what you would choose in the comments. And if my story resonated with you, like and subscribe for more inspiring stories of resilience and empowerment. Thank you. Sometimes I catch myself staring at old photos. Graduation day. Me, beaming, holding my diploma. Liam, his arm around Sarah, a goofy grin on his face. It's like looking at a different life, a life that could have been. A life where I was happy, loved, and supported. But that's not my reality. My reality is so much more complicated, so much more real. What would you do in my place? Would you be able to forgive? Would you be able to move on? It took me a long time to even begin to consider forgiveness. The anger was like a fire, burning inside me, consuming everything in its path. Every time I saw Liam and Sarah, every time I heard their names, the fire would flare up again, hotter and more intense than before. I remember one Thanksgiving dinner a year after the graduation debacle. My family was all there, gathered around the table, pretending that everything was normal. Liam and Sarah were sitting across from me, holding hands, their eyes sparkling with love. My mother kept shooting me worried glances, as if I was some kind of ticking time bomb ready to explode at any moment. The turkey was dry, the stuffing was bland, and the conversation was stilted and awkward. I felt like an outsider, an observer, watching a play unfold before me. The scene felt surreal, like a twisted parody of family harmony. My little niece, Lily, turned to me with wide, innocent eyes. "Auntie," she lisped, "why aren't you married?" The question hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. I felt my cheeks flush. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could say anything, my mother interjected, "Lily, that's not polite." "It's okay, Mom," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm not married because I'm too busy changing the world." Everyone laughed, but I could see the pity in their eyes. They thought I was just trying to cover up my pain, to put on a brave face. And maybe they were right. Maybe I was. But I was also telling the truth. I was busy. I was working hard. I was making a difference. And that was enough. Or, at least, that's what I told myself. Later that evening, after everyone had left, I found my father sitting alone in the living room, staring out the window. He looked lost, defeated. "I'm sorry, honey," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I messed up. I should have stood up for you. I should have protected you." I sat down beside him and took his hand. "It's okay, Dad," I said. "It's not your fault. You were just trying to keep the peace." He shook his head. "That's no excuse," he said. "I let them treat you like you were invisible, and I'll never forgive myself for that." I hugged him tightly. "I forgive you, Dad," I said. "I forgive you." It wasn't easy. It took time and effort and a lot of soul-searching, but I realized that holding on to anger was only hurting me, not them. They were living their lives, oblivious to the pain they had caused, and I was letting them control me, even from afar. So I made a conscious decision to let go, to forgive, to move on. I started focusing on the things that mattered to me, my work, my friends, my family. I started traveling the world, exploring new cultures, meeting new people. I started taking care of myself, both physically and mentally. I started living my life, on my own terms. Then, one day, I ran into Liam at a coffee shop. It had been years since I'd seen him. He looked older, tired. He was alone. "Hey," he said, his voice hesitant. "How are you?" "I'm good, Liam," I said, surprised by how calm I felt. "Really good." We talked for a few minutes about the weather, about our families, about our lives. He told me that he and Sarah were going through a rough patch, that they were struggling to connect, that he regretted the way things had ended between us. I listened politely, but I didn't offer any advice. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel anything. "I just wanted to say," he said, his voice cracking with emotion, "that I'm really proud of you, of everything you've accomplished. You've done amazing things." "Thank you, Liam," I said. "I appreciate that." We said goodbye and went our separate ways. As I walked away, I realized that I had forgiven Liam, not because he deserved it, but because I deserved it. I had moved on, not because I had forgotten what had happened, but because I had learned from it. I had become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And I was. What would you do if you found yourself face to face with someone who had deeply hurt you? Would you offer forgiveness? Would you choose anger? Would you remain indifferent? The choice is always yours. And that's the most empowering thing of all. I remember visiting Iceland, seeing the northern lights dance across the sky. It was like watching a miracle unfold before my eyes. The colors shifted and swirled, painting the darkness with breathtaking beauty. I felt so small, so insignificant in the face of such grandeur, but I also felt connected to something bigger than myself. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always light, there is always hope, there is always beauty. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me fighting. That's what keeps me believing. The world is a complicated place, filled with both good and evil, with both love and hate. But it's also a place of incredible potential, of boundless possibilities. And it's up to us to create the world we want to live in, to build a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. I think about Sarah sometimes. I wonder if she's happy. I wonder if she ever thinks about me. I haven't spoken to her in years. The bridge between us has crumbled, leaving a chasm too wide to cross. Maybe someday we'll be able to reconcile. Maybe someday we'll be able to forgive each other. But for now, we're just two ships passing in the night, sailing in opposite directions. And that's okay. Sometimes things are just not meant to be. Sometimes people are not meant to be in your life forever, and that's perfectly all right. You have to learn to accept it, to let go. I am a speaker now. I travel a lot. I love visiting schools. Little girls look at me like I am from another planet, like I am a superhero. They ask, how did I manage so much? And I reply, because you have to want it more than you fear it. I never stop. I will not stop. I wish someone had said this to me when I was that age. I wish someone had told me I was enough. I wish someone had told me that being ambitious was not a sin. It's a strength. It is your superpower, and it's what will make you change the world. Do you ever wonder what your life would be like if you made different choices? If you took a different path? If you said yes instead of no? I do, all the time. I often imagine a version of myself who stayed with Liam, who settled down in that cookie-cutter house, who had 2 kids and a minivan. A version of myself who never pursued her dreams, who never spoke her truth, who never dared to be different. And honestly, that version of myself terrifies me. I remember visiting a remote village in Nepal, nestled high in the Himalayas. The air was thin, the scenery was breathtaking, and the people were incredibly resilient. They lived a simple life, without the comforts and conveniences that we take for granted. But they were happy. They were content. They were connected to each other and to the land. I spent several days volunteering at a local school, teaching English to the children. They were eager to learn, bright and curious. They asked me so many questions about my life, about my world, and I realized that I had so much to offer them, not just knowledge, but also hope. I told them my story, about my struggles, about my triumphs, about my journey, and they listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. At the end of my visit, one of the girls, a young girl named Maya, approached me with a shy smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely audible. "You have inspired me." Her words touched my heart. I realized that I wasn't just changing the world, I was also inspiring others to do the same. And that's what makes it all worthwhile. That's what gives my life meaning. That's what makes me get up every morning, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. I started mentoring young women, sharing my experiences and offering guidance. I wanted to help them navigate the challenges they would face in their careers, in their relationships, in their lives. I wanted to empower them to believe in themselves, to pursue their dreams, to never give up. I organized workshops and seminars, inviting successful women from various fields to share their stories and insights. The response was overwhelming. Women from all walks of life came together to learn, to connect, to support each other. It was a powerful and transformative experience. I remember one workshop in particular where a young woman broke down in tears, confessing that she felt lost and directionless. She had just graduated from college, but she had no idea what she wanted to do with her life. She felt pressured to conform to societal expectations, to get married, to have children, to settle down. But she also yearned for something more. She wanted to make a difference in the world, to leave her mark. I sat down beside her and listened patiently. I told her that it was okay to feel lost, that it was okay to not have all the answers. I told her that the most important thing was to stay true to herself, to follow her heart, to never stop searching. I encouraged her to explore her passions, to try new things, to take risks, and I reminded her that she wasn't alone, that there were countless other women who had felt the same way. Slowly, she began to smile. She realized that she had the power to create her own destiny, to define her own success. She left the workshop feeling energized and inspired, ready to embark on her own unique journey. And that's the beauty of mentoring. It's not about telling people what to do. It's about empowering them to find their own way. It's about creating a safe space for them to explore their potential, to overcome their fears, to achieve their dreams? What would you do to empower others? How would you use your experiences to inspire and uplift those around you? It's incredible the things we can do if we only try. Sometimes I dream. Crimson sunsets over ruined castles become crystal clear visions of what might happen. What can I do tomorrow to make everything better? What should I invent? Maybe I'll write, or travel. Or maybe I will simply sit in silence and remember. Each memory, a vibrant brushstroke painting my life's ever-evolving story. I learned to embrace the mess, the unpredictable, chaotic beauty of being human. There is no such thing as perfect, only authentic. It's about finding joy in the journey, even when the road is rough, and trusting that everything, even the pain, has a purpose. My mother, she calls sometimes. She asks about the children in Nepal, about the girls I mentor, about the book sales. It's like she says, "I am so proud of you." And those words, they mean more than all the awards, all the accolades, all the recognition in the world, because the real me, the ambitious, driven, passionate woman I always was, and she loves me for it. Sarah? She sent me a message, a long, heartfelt apology. She wrote about her struggles, about her regrets, about her realization that she had made a mistake. She acknowledged the pain she had caused me, and she asked for my forgiveness. I read her message, tears streaming down my face. It wasn't an easy message to write, and it wasn't an easy message to read, but it was honest, and it was sincere, and that's what mattered. I replied to her message, telling her that I forgave her, that I understood, that I hoped we could rebuild our relationship someday. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I'm open to it. I'm willing to give her a second chance, because ultimately we're family, and family is worth fighting for, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. What would you do to rebuild a broken relationship? How far would you go to forgive someone who has wronged you? Is there a limit to forgiveness? These are tough questions. There are no easy answers, but they're worth exploring, because ultimately it's through forgiveness that we find healing. It's through compassion that we find connection, and it's through love that we find our way back to each other, to ourselves. And that, my friends, is what life is all about. Finding your voice, living your truth, and never, ever giving up on love. Sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet and still, I sit and reflect on everything that has happened, on the choices I've made, on the paths I've taken, on the person I've become, and I realize that I wouldn't change a thing, not even the pain, not even the betrayal, not even the heartbreak, because it's all shaped me into who I am today. A stronger, wiser, more compassionate woman. A woman who knows her worth. A woman who isn't afraid to speak her mind. A woman who is determined to make a difference in the world. I remember visiting Rwanda, a country that has been through so much suffering. A country that has risen from the ashes of genocide to become a beacon of hope. I met with survivors, with perpetrators, with leaders, with ordinary citizens. And I was struck by their resilience, by their determination to build a better future. They had every reason to be bitter, to be angry, to be consumed by hate, but they chose forgiveness. They chose reconciliation. They chose love. And they're rebuilding their country, brick by brick, heart by heart. It was an incredibly moving experience. It taught me the true meaning of forgiveness. It taught me the power of the human spirit. And it inspired me to continue my work, to continue fighting for justice, to continue spreading hope. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, providing support and resources to women who have experienced domestic violence. I listened to their stories. I offered them encouragement. I helped them find their voice. It was challenging work, emotionally draining, but it was also incredibly rewarding. To see these women transform from victims into survivors, to see them regain their confidence and their independence, to see them take control of their lives. It was truly inspiring. I organized a fundraiser to raise money for the shelter, and the response was overwhelming. People from all over the community donated their time, their money, their resources. It was a testament to the power of collective action. It showed me that when we come together, we can accomplish anything. What would you do to support survivors of violence? How would you use your resources to help those in need? It's amazing the impact we can have when we reach out and offer a helping hand. The kindness of strangers can save lives. It can restore hope. It can change the world. I am now a professor. I lecture in ethics. Sometimes my students ask me what is right and wrong. I ask them, what do you think? It is important to think for yourself. What do you value? What do you believe in? There are no easy answers. Life is complex, messy, and full of contradictions, but it's also beautiful, precious, and full of possibilities. And it's up to us to make the most of it, to live our lives with purpose, with passion, and with compassion, to treat each other with kindness, with respect, and with understanding, to stand up for what we believe in even when it's unpopular, to never give up on hope even when it seems impossible, and to always, always choose love. Even when it's the hardest thing to do, I often think back to that graduation day, the day my life changed forever, the day I learned the true meaning of betrayal, the day I found my voice. And I am grateful. Grateful for the pain, grateful for the heartbreak, grateful for the journey, because it's all made me who I am today. A woman who is strong, resilient, and compassionate. A woman who knows that anything is possible as long as you believe in yourself, as long as you never give up, and as long as you always, always choose love. What would you say to your younger self? What advice would you give to someone who is struggling? What words of wisdom would you share with the world? Take a moment to reflect on your own journey, on the challenges you've overcome, on the lessons you've learned, on the person you've become, and then share your wisdom with others, because your story matters, your voice matters, and you matter. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes. I have stumbled and fallen, but I have always gotten back up. I have always kept going, and I will continue to do so until my very last breath, because I believe in the power of hope. I believe in the power of love, and I believe in the power of the human spirit, and I know that together we can change the world, one act of kindness at a time, one word of encouragement at a time, one dream at a time. So let's get started. Let's create a world where everyone feels valued, respected, and loved. A world where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential. A world where anything is possible. Let's make it happen. Together. I choose love. What do you choose? Looking back, I see a young woman on a stage, bathed in harsh light, facing a choice between bitterness and grace, between silence and truth. I chose truth, and it set me free. Now I stand on a different stage, sunlight warming my face, surrounded by faces filled with hope. My foundation has built schools, funded scholarships, and empowered thousands. I see my younger self in their eyes, fierce and full of dreams.